People got a quick look at us. Whoops. Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. PrideofDetroit.com. Pride of Detroit on Twitter. Pride of Detroit on Facebook. I tell you, every week you know where to find us on Twitch and also on YouTube on the next day, later in the day. Pride of Detroit. Search for Pride of Detroit on YouTube. Twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit to catch us live 7 p.m. Eastern after every Lions game when they are at 1 p.m. like this last one was. And if you're out watching us live on Twitch, you might catch a glimpse of my fat orange tabby Ruby, who, as Jeremy Reisman, our fearless leader at Detroit Online, pointed out when Ruby was first on camera, that he wishes he could be that cat right now, just sleeping on his side, head down on the stone cold tile floor in my apartment. Yeah, Jeremy. This isn't good.
Either Ruby or Natalie Imbruglia are my spirit animals today. I just want to be lying naked on the floor. That's about it.
Oh, okay. That's not an image I needed. Thank you. By the way, am Chris Perfett, your adequate host at Chris Perfett, PERFETT on Twitter, where I appreciate all Lions fans right now. It is not fun. I appreciate that everyone is handling this one very well. That in relative terms, and I think we've all hit that acceptance stage right now. It wasn't great last week. It's not getting any better this week, but you know what? We'll all pull through it, and we're gonna have some fun, which is what we do on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Now, let me introduce the third man, the Shawn Michaels, as it were, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, what's up, buddy?
I'm just finishing up this 40 burger that Aaron Rodgers put on the grill and put into our mouths. We all had to give you indigestion. Force-fed.
Was it really put up the mouth though? I feel like it may have been put elsewhere.
This is a PG-13 podcast.
That's just counterproductive. I don't know.
I mean, it's just an enema, but
okay. So we were served a 40 burger enema by Aaron Rodgers. Perfect. Yep. That's what we need to name this podcast. The 40 burger enema, courtesy of Aaron Rodgers.
This podcast is going to start with an enema and end with a B-enema.
All right. Wow. Like a forecast of things to come from your fearless leader at Detroit Online. We have a lot to get into to break down the debacle that was Lions at Packers. And look, this is a weird week around the NFL. I'm currently watching, Kansas City looks like they might be coming back in it. I don't like giving live updates on here, but there's no other way to describe what happened in Lambeau Field other than just damn ugly for the Detroit Lions. And you can post out your stats all you want about 0-2 teams trying to make the playoffs. All I'm going to say is I'm quoting the senior Jim Mora with playoffs. Well, you just need to win a dang game at this point. Lions are not looking good in every facet of the game. I understand the temptation is just to tune out. I hope you guys will continue to listen to Pride of Detroit PODcast, just because we're going to try to inform you, entertain you, and hopefully be a balm in trying times. Isn't that what we should be, Ryan? Just something you can spread on your rear and soothe the pain.
We really need to get away from like that end of the spectrum.
We've really gone Freudian here. Yeah.
Yeah. We're really dipping our toes in this, but I don't think that there's any better way to start the podcast, to be honest, because this just felt like the worst.
A spanking. Yeah. It felt like a spanking. Final score 42 Packers, Detroit Lions 21. Jeremy, technically it happened. Technically the Lions blew a double-digit lead in this game.
Yeah.
But that was a mirage.
Yeah, I think that's drawn a lot of attention, and we even wrote an article on it because it's happened literally 4 games in a row. But, I thought to myself before this game happened, because I did think the 2 most likely outcomes of this game were the Lions hold close, Packers pull out in a win, or the Packers just blow out the Lions. And I was thinking to myself, which one would hurt more after, losing a close one to the Bears. And I think they're completely different kinds of hurt, right? Because yes, It would be painful if the Lions had kept this one close, lost one, and we'd be playing the same game we played last year, where it's like, oh, well, this team could have been 2-0. They're 0-2, but they could be 2-0. This kind of hurt, though, is a no hope kind of hurt, where it's just like you look at this game, you look at the results of this game, and yes, the Lions got out to a 14-3 lead, and yes, the offense looked good to start the game, but after that, there was nothing. There was literally nothing to get excited about. The defense has somehow gone into the depths of hell, worse than where they were last year, which I think we can all agree we didn't really think that was possible. We thought last year was the bottom, was rock bottom for this defense, and so far it's somehow worse. Offense, Matthew Stafford makes another critical mistake. Running game just is non-existent because they're down 3 scores. And, I think they're missing their big play potential. We saw a bunch of big plays from this offense last year. We haven't seen that many from them this year. Maybe they're missing Kenny Galladay. But whatever it is, this Lions team was absolutely lifeless in the second half. And it's hard to look beyond these first 2 weeks and see anything bright on the horizon. It's ugly out there.
Just as the founder of my fabric move, to rear me was the task of power divine, supremest wisdom and primeval lore. Before me things create where none, save things eternal, and eternal I endure. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Yeah, Dante?
Yeah, the Lions are bad. Yeah, they're bad. They're real bad. And they're in their own personal hell for sure.
Yeah, that's Inferno. This was bad in all 3 stages of the game, and that's what kind of blew me away. We're going to get a little bit into Matt Stafford later. Matt Stafford, I think if we were hoping for an MVP season out of him, which is like we all said, and we knew it was an impossibility when we said Stafford basically had to play an immaculate season for the Lions to have a chance. This was not a game where that immaculate season really carried over. But at the same time, the defense is not looking good. We knew this defense was going to be bad. We just thought it was going to maybe improve from 31st or 30th last year. Not quite so. We're going to talk about the injuries in the secondary. But not only do we have injuries in the secondary, that front 7 just can't do anything didn't do anything all day against the Packers. Special teams was up and down. Prater missed a field goal, which now makes 2 games in a row for him with a missed field goal. Jack Fox, the punter, looking good, but that's all you can really write home about. And if you can only write home about a punter, then we've got problems. The Packers did what I appreciate in the NFL. And I hate to give any kind of respect to people from Wisconsin, but the Packers did what I appreciate in the NFL because they looked at the lead the Lions put on them. They didn't blink. They came back, busted down the door, and then stepped on the neck of the Lions. Between putting up 14 before the half and then a touchdown right after the half. You want to know what happened after that touchdown after the half, after that Aaron Jones touchdown? They didn't sit on their laurels. They didn't start trying to burn clock and doing run play after run play. They pressed that boot down harder until the Lions couldn't even breathe. Their defense stepped up, and then their offense just kept going yard. Aaron Rodgers didn't need to let up at all in that game. They didn't need to sit back and suddenly go to, Jamal Williams or AJ Dillon for rushing. No, they just kept pounding. They kept pounding. That's how they get a 42-point lead. That's how you bury a team. Matt Patricia, take notes. We're going to talk about you soon. But take notes. That's what you're supposed to do when you have a lead. You're not supposed to sit on a 3-point lead and say, okay, everything's right and rosy. Everything's cool. I feel good about this. No, you bury them. You know what happens when you score another touchdown? You don't get penalized for showing up a team. You make them force them to score another 7 points to keep up with you. And it's something the Lions apparently don't know how to do, along with not getting any defensive stops, along with just the entire defense looking really bad on the day. With everything else, I can't even find bright spots right now. I mentioned Jack Fox. I'll maybe mention Kerryon Johnson. This team suddenly remembering that Kerryon Johnson maybe exists, but even then, that's kind of faint praise at this point for Kerryon. This is a disaster. Kyler Murray looks good, and the Cardinals are up next, and that bye week is looming closer, and that's not going to spell well for the Lions right now.
I think the most frustrating part of this game for me was that the way things went in the first quarter, everything was lined up for the Lions to run their game plan. Their game plan, and they did in the first quarter. It's to string out possessions. It's to run the ball a ton. I think they ran the ball, I want to say 12 times, 11 times in the first quarter alone. Like, that's what they want to be. They want to run a lot of clock, especially in this game where you don't want Aaron Rodgers to have the ball too much. So they're with a lead. They've got the running game going pretty well early in this game. If they can just spread that out through fourth quarters, that's great. But unfortunately, didn't work out that way. Their defense couldn't stop a thing. When the offense had a chance to maybe extend their lead to 2 scores at the end of the half, they choked and then compounded just mistake after mistake. And yes, coaching is going to be the number one focus, I think, of fans today and all of this week because, I mean, it should be. This defense looks like garbage in year 3. That can't happen with a defensive-minded head coach. But the players didn't help themselves. Ode Ibushi took one really stupid penalty for hitting a guy after the game. Then he took another one that really cost the Lions at least 4 points by taking a holding penalty on that 2-minute drill that stopped the clock instead of running an extra 40 seconds off the clock. You look at special teams, penalty on Jamal Agnew. You look at defense, couple penalties against Amani Oruwariye. I mean, the players are not helping their coaching staff out at all. This team is just bad right now, and no one is stepping up. No one. Not Matthew Stafford, not Marvin Jones, not TJ Hawkinson, not Jeff Okudah. There is not a single guy on this roster who's stepping up to make any sort of plays to off count all the mistakes that are being made, because they're being mistakes made across the board. And yes, it's September football with no offseason. Everything's going to be sloppy. But it's not looking so sloppy on the other side of that sideline. Packers aren't looking so sloppy in year 2 of that offense. And let's give credit to the Packers. They have now vanquished 2 NFC North defenses, one that was supposed to be very good, one that was hopefully going to be better, but very clearly isn't. This Packers team is for real. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting to 2 weeks, but regardless, the Lions are very clearly not for real, and I don't know how they pull themselves out of it.
On one hand, I mostly agree with you. I'll let Ryan speak in a second. I agree with you that the players aren't doing much. Like, I mean, Will Harris was really bad today. Like we saw him give up, he disappeared from the field after he gave up that touchdown in the third quarter. But like I was watching Darryl Roberts, he's not even getting his hands up to like stop Jones. Like there's just so much going on here. But on the other hand, this wash is bad. This is what we mentioned year 3. This is what the coaching staff wanted to have together. This is their vision at this point. Like you bought your groceries. So, Ryan, yeah, your immediate impression from this game.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Quinn did buy all the groceries, and it seems like it was a lot of expired goods. I mean, Danny Shelton is who we thought he was, just average. Jamie Collins, for some reason, was worse playing in a game where he was actually there. Like he was like a net negative after getting suspended or after getting ejected out of last game, and then all of a sudden he shows up. The thing that was the most maddening to me, and Jeremy already touched on it, but that first quarter, the Lions had their identity. They had 60 rushing yards in the first quarter. You know how many they had the rest of the game? Granted, they were playing from behind, but they had 29. Like it was just rough. Like once the Lions got pulled out of their game, and this is something that I mentioned on First Bite, like once the Lions lost the game of possessions, it was over. It was over. That sequence at the end of the second half and the first play of the second half, it was over. It was done. I think that Aaron Jones run is going to be so symbolic of this defense and the stamp that Matt Patricia, the odorous stamp he's going to leave on this team, because I mean, Jamie Collins gets washed out of the play. Jared Davis gets washed out of the play. Nobody can stack and shed a block. Will Harris misses a tackle. I mean, there was somebody who had the audacity, and our former staff member, Kent Lee Platty, he brought it up in our Slack page, but there was somebody who mentioned that Bob Quinn was one of the smartest GMs and had some of the best drafts. It's really clear that Bob Quinn's draft picks have been horrendous. 7.4 yards per play for the Packers. 7.4 yards per play. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. And I mean, that has to be the most disappointing part of this team right now, is the run defense. It's completely unacceptable. It's a focus. It is what this team is supposed to be about, running the ball and stopping the run. You said it, 259 yards on the ground today. 259 yards. Ridiculous. You go back to last week, it was just as bad. The only reason
it was just as bad.
The only reason the Bears didn't run the ball more is because they were losing. 149 yards, 5.3 carry last week.
Yeah, and I know you said 7.4 yards per carry, but it was also 7.4 yards per play, just straight up.
Yeah,
jeez. Yeah,
I mean,
bad.
If you're you can even take out that Aaron Jones play, and he's still averaging over 5 yards a carry in this game. That's unacceptable. And I like what do you want? Look, what is there to change? What is in Detroit what's not in Detroit that Matt Patricia needs? Because he got his nose tackle that fits his scheme better in Danny Shelton over Snacks. He got his linebacker, his veteran linebacker that can help teach the young guys. He got his draft pick last year in Jelani Tavai. He got his cornerback, his physical cornerback in Jeff Okudah. He got his safety that plays center field well in Duron Harmon. What more pieces do you need to put this puzzle together to make a defense that can even compete? The last time I saw a defense this bad was 2008. 2008. We know what happened then, right? It was the last time the Lions lost 11 in a row, which is where they're at right now. And that's where we're at.
We're coming up on 11 months since the Lions have won a game. Like, just let that sink in. October 27th of 2019 was the last time the Lions won a game. You bring up the defense, not even just on allowing all these yards too, but like just, God, no pressure whatsoever. 3 QB hits on the day. One of those belongs to Tracy Walker, a safety. Like what are you? I know that the front seven had problems. I know coming out of the gate, we said, okay, there's just not going to be a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But this is just, you're running, you've invented whatever the coaching staff has invented, whether it's their plan or not, or if it's just dealing with what they've got. whatever they've invented here runs counter to modern football. I'm sorry, it does. It runs counter. The defense is running counter to modern football in that maybe you're just not good to compete against the offensive line for the Packers and the Bears. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're just playing really good offensive lines. I doubt it, though. I really doubt it. It just doesn't look like you're just not going to get home. And I understand Rodgers is elusive, but this is the big boy league. There's more and more elusive quarterbacks by the year coming into this league. You better start getting ready to start. You can't say, oh, yeah, but Aaron Rodgers is hard to pin down. Guess what? Kyler Murray is hard to pin down. He's coming up next Sunday. And guess what? Like, that's the way the NFL is going. Evolve or die. Evolve or die. Don't just sit there and pine for the 1980s for smash mouth football. That's what old ass Bears fans do when they talk about their old coaches and their old players. Evolve or die. You've not evolved. And it's just the start of a season, and it doesn't look like this defense is going to evolve at all.
Is there a more telling sign of any of that than Julian Okwara being inactive today? Now,
what the hell?
Unless there's an injury or an illness or something unheard of that we don't know yet, their third-round draft pick, they're maybe their best pass rusher, or at least in terms of pure skill and speed and pass rush moves, inactive. Healthy
Someone
scratch.
Who I thought was going to be the rookie of the year.
And you know why they did that? I can tell you why. Because Matt Patricia believes in containment, believes in good edge rushers who can defend the run as well. Well, guess what the Lions didn't do today? They didn't defend the run at all. Guess what they also didn't do? Get to Aaron Rodgers. Guess what else they didn't do? Contain Aaron Rodgers. He had several throws he made outside of the pocket. So what are we doing here? Are we just going to have Christian Jones repeat Devon Kennard's performance from last year and just deal with really crappy edge defenders that can't really defend the run or rush the passer? They just stand there for 50 straight hours a week? Like, what are we doing? There's no adjustment. We're shuffling the names. Yeah, the names are different, but they're basically playing the exact same football that they were last year. The scheme doesn't work. As you said, this is not a modern day defense that seems to work. And I mean, you rattle through all these draft picks. You start to wonder, is Bob Quinn a bad drafter or is Matt Patricia a bad developer? Maybe the answer is both, but something's not working. Everything's not working.
Ryan, final word to you before we got to go to break.
I think what's so eerie, and Jeremy just hit on it about Julian Okwara being a healthy scratch. Think about, like, the writing was on the wall all the way back to the first season when Matt Patricia healthy scratched A'Shawn Robinson. And we were all just kind of like, maybe A'Shawn Robinson isn't a fit for the Lions defense. And then all of a sudden he balled out for the rest of the season. Like, are these head games that Patricia's playing? Like, is it one of those things where it's like you have to, like, earn your time? No, the Lions need pass rush help. They've needed it for the past 5-6 seasons, and they just haven't supplemented it. They haven't done it in the draft. They haven't done it in free agency. It's embarrassing. Instead, they're spending second round picks on running backs. They can't even get Logan Stenberg up to speed to have him playing guard when you have Ode Ibushi out there he had a penalty declined on him. He had that awful personal foul penalty. You got Will Harris, who took 2 awful penalties. I don't know. It's all bad. It all stinks. It's all rotting. I don't know if the Boston boys see the other side of the bye week.
That, I think, is what we're going to talk about in the third part of this show. Unless you want to talk about it right next, we got to do some thinking during the break here, because I also want to talk about the role that injuries are playing. I had a great conversation with a former NFL offensive lineman about just how pervasive injuries are. But I also think that's not much of an excuse for the Lions. We're going to break that down here a little bit. We also need to finally talk about Stafford. I know we've kind of always been saying Stafford isn't the problem. I kind of agree he's not the problem, but he definitely wasn't the solution on Sundays. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to take your questions here during the break. If you are watching live, once again, if you're listening on the podcast, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, you can be part of a live studio audience watching me, Jeremy, and Ryan melting down in real time. Not only that, we had a great post-game show too with myself, Jeremy, Mansour Shaheen and John Whitaker as well, where it's flop sweat all over the place. We're going to take this break. We will be right back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. It's a rough year, but we're going to make sure you guys see it through in style. All right, Jeremy, you're free to pimp.
Yeah, let me catch up on some alerts here. We got a bunch of follows in that first segment. Jay Garcia and Wade away. Thank you for the follow. Norway, Sweden, Russia. Thank you for the follow. Hard Oli, thank you for the follow. And Guitar BLD, thank you guys for the follow. And who's that? Hi Zod, thank you for the follow. Appreciate all the follows. Let's get to some questions here. Patricia said Okwara was a healthy scratch. There you go. Thank you for the info. Ryan, not a big surprise, to be honest. Quinn signed.
I like this one from
Go ahead.
Uncle Indigo. Harris playing over Walker is crazy. Granted, Walker hasn't been great this year. Yeah, man. Like Tracy Walker wasn't exactly. He got the QB hit on Aaron Rodgers, but he had his back turned to receivers multiple times in this game.
I didn't have an issue with how Tracy Walker played in this game.
No, I thought he definitely played better than Harris. Like, I'm not giving him a stock up, stock down in my report for the morning, but I'm just saying, like, the fact I'm agreeing with Indigo that Harris playing over Walker is certified crazy.
Yep. What was I gonna read? From Icon, he says Quinn signed a defensive end for $18 million who doesn't impose himself like an $18 million player. I would kind of agree with that. Not to take anything away from Trey Flowers. He's a good player. He's disruptive, but he's not like you pay $18 million a year for a guy who's going to get you 15 sacks a season. You pay because I mean those are money plays. Those are the plays that end drives. Those are the plays that make the defense the aggressor. There's nothing about Matt Patricia's defense that is aggressive. It's all passive. It's all it's all defensive linemen hold your ground and wait for the play to come to you. It's no taking the play to you. And where you really see that is both in terms of your run defense and really in terms of like it's all about giving up yards but not points, but the Lions aren't doing either. It's about not giving up the plays, and guess what, the Packers had big plays all over the place today. And
yeah, it's the hot gates of Thermopylae, but instead of 300 Spartans, it's 300 senior citizens.
I don't know if anyone ever knows what you're talking about, Chris, but it sounds awesome.
They've seen 300. They know what I'm talking about.
Can the Chiefs score a touchdown for me?
Shut up.
Overtime, man.
I know. I needed them to kick a field goal and then now score a touchdown because I had a -4.5.
Oh.
But I don't know. Like with with Trey Flowers, it's tough. He's not the biggest issue right now. He's more of an issue of just like philosophy. He's a victim of philosophy, just like a lot of these players on defense are. And I don't know how you pull out of this tailspin. It's ugly. I mean, if you guys, I know you guys were talking in chat a little bit about it. I don't know if we want to talk about it on the podcast or during the breaks, but J-Ron Curse, the suspended line safety, was saying some pretty dark stuff on Twitter today. Deleted some tweets, which is always a really good sign of somebody. But if you want to see him, I'll pull him up here 1 second.
Yeah, I didn't see this at all, so I'm actually, this is news to me, so I want to see this.
So the tweets he deleted were this one: shit has to change, and to say the least, this is embarrassing. Not great. He deleted those tweets, but if you look, like, he didn't really hold back. So he says,
until you change your thinking, you'll always something.
Eric said, it's probably good that he retweeted. He said, not really. Things do have to change for us as a team. And if you take pride in your work and the game you love, that was embarrassing. So he's very
I don't
upset.
see any problem with anything he said. Like,
no.
I mean, I get it that, like, This is the thing, is like I'm used to very frank, maybe it's because of the industry I work in. I have guys who are former players who get into this industry because they were the frank, who were the talkative guys. Like, I mean, like, fuck, I've met Shannon Sharp, and he always talked about just how frank he was with the media sometimes. And like, listen, man, that's not going to endear him when you're at that role. Like the coaching staff is actually going to crush him, but like, you're saying it what everyone else is saying. Don't think that's not appreciated. You like we have this weird culture now where it's like, how dare you somehow break ranks and like say what everyone's thinking? Like this is insanity. The insanity that you are like that you should be more concerned about a potential disrespect for someone in a position of overwhelming power than you should about speaking truth to that power. That's a lot of the problem with our damn society right now, but I'm not going to shake my fist in the sky too much of that. But either way, I've got no problem with anything Jay Ron said.
And I don't think
None
you should.
whatsoever.
My point is that if you've got a guy who hasn't even played a snap for your team, already pissed off to a point where like we have to change, like we have to overhaul this. Like this isn't working. This is embarrassing. A guy that's sitting on the sidelines, a guy that literally has not played a game under the Detroit lines once. If he's already like, what the hell are we doing? That's bad.
That's coming from a position of you've been listening to your coworkers talking shit behind the scenes, and you're not out as a rogue here criticizing. Your coworkers have been talking shit behind the scenes. They've been frustrated, but they've been around long enough that they know better than to bring it out publicly, and you've just kind of let it slip that you've been listening to everything they've been saying.
I'm going to take devil's advocate here, and I'm just going to say that maybe J-Ron Curse, if anything, he's most frustrated, and he's frustrated with the fact that he isn't playing and he's not out there, and he probably thinks that he can help this
absolutely.
team.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is him getting to Twitter and saying, like, you know, shit has to change. Like, I mean, I feel like that's something that is just kind of like spread around the locker room. Like, I'm sure all those guys are like, yeah, we have to change. And I don't know what he means needs to change.
Yeah,
like
he's not necessarily calling for a coaching overhaul or anything like that.
Yeah, no, he's just saying like we probably need to overhaul our scheme. We need to like just come out with more fire in our bellies. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Yeah. Like
I have a good thing to start the second segment if you'd like.
Okay, what is it? Just so because like I don't know what I'm getting into.
I mean, are the Lions really bad, or did they just play two good football teams?
Okay, we can talk about that. I almost want to throw the J-Ron stuff into the podcast. I don't know if you want that, Jeremy, just because I know it's deleted tweets and everything. But
I don't know. It seems
we all saw it. We all saw it. People saw it. Sorry.
It seems like unnecessary drama that's going to be tomorrow's news. Tomorrow.
We all saw it.
I mean,
nothing he's saying is different from anything we're saying.
So why bring it up if we're saying it?
I don't think the attention on it's going to get him in trouble. Like I think someone's already.
I'm not worried about getting him in trouble.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that interesting. After, I mean, if like everyone is saying, he's right.
But I liked the discourse I had. Like I liked Ryan's point there that that wasn't something I was really considering. That I mean. Like, I totally wasn't expecting him talking about the coaching staff, but, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else we got to say, chat, before we get back into it? After hours, thank you for the follow. I want Matthew Stafford to call out the coaching, but he's too good of a person to throw his coaches or teammates under the bus.
I don't want that just because I've been watching Bruce Arians and Tom Brady go this passive-aggressive bullshit in Tampa Bay already. Like... That's no one's going to get thrown under the bus. They're just going to be really passive aggressive about it, and we're just going to make a huge mess out of nothing.
Adrian says, Miss Caldwell. What's the odds that he gets hired after Patricia is fired? 0. I'm sorry. That just doesn't happen in the NFL.
I think unfortunately for various factors, I think Caldwell's done.
We'll get into plenty of talk about Patricia. And
I
don't really want to talk about who's going to replace him because we're wasting our breath at this point.
No. Yeah, it's only week 2, guys. We got to take it easy here. We can't blow the load right away. Yeah, I saw Ryan's head snap up. Yeah, I know everyone is hot and bothered for Eric Bieniemy. Just settle down just a little bit.
Whenever I hear his name, I just hear Eric the Enemy. Like not Bieniemy.
Not Bieniema.
Stop it.
The Bieniema enema.
All right.
Yeah, Okay. Yeah, I'm getting distracted by the game cast. I don't have a stream up, but I'm getting distracted by the game cast for Chiefs Chargers, so I want to get back to this.
I would never be distracted by that game, ever.
All right.
We're professional sports.
No, we're not. Vox doesn't even pay me anymore. What are you talking about?
Yes, they do. Don't lie to the people.
Shh. They don't need to know that. Vox doesn't need to know that they're still paying me.
The Enforcer, thank you for the follow.
All right. Let me see. All right, let's get back into it. You want to start on, I'll start on Ryan's point, and then we'll talk some injuries.
Sure.
Okay. Welcome back to the Pride to Detroit PODcast. A somber one here as the Lions have been laid low by the Packers, and that dreaded 0-2 stat comes out again for teams making the NFL playoffs. And all, like, A, that's kind of bogus now in the age of a third wild card, but B, I'm still not trusting the Lions to do anything. C, playoffs. But Ryan, you had something you wanted to share with the class.
I have a question for the class, and the thing is that I just want the point to be taken home. Now, the lifeless, unresponsive corpse that is the 2020 Detroit Lions season has been rolled into the coffin, and we've done a couple of hammer knocks to all of the nails. However, I want us to drive the nails into that aforementioned coffin, because what if the Lions just played two really good football teams?
Okay.
What if the 2-0 Chicago Bears are quote unquote for real? I mean, we think the Green Bay Packers are 100% for real.
I do. I actually do. I think the Packers are in a really good spot. I think that offense is going to be deadly all season. I feel like they're finally clicking on what they want to be. But you can't tell me the 2-0 Bears deserve to be 2-0. You can't tell me that's a good team.
They beat up on the Giants.
Can't tell me that's a good team.
Okay,
they barely survived the Giants.
I'm saying clearly the Packers are probably going to be the toast of the NFC North. I mean, with the way that, and I've never been so sure of something through 2 weeks. The Bears might stick around and they might end up as a wild card team. Okay, maybe they hang around on some good luck. They get to play the Lions again. They get to play the Vikings still. So my initial reaction is, yes, the Lions are very, very bad. I just need to know how bad they are when they play against some of these other teams after the bye. Like when they play the Jacksonville Jaguars, who actually put up a pretty good fight against the Tennessee Titans, or, I want to see them play some of these other teams like the Carolina Panthers, who seem like also like really kind of bad. So I just need to know how bad the Lions are, and if we can totally for sure write them off after 2 weeks.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Looking at the schedule ahead, I don't want to break down every game, but looking at the schedule ahead through till Thanksgiving against the Texans, not including the Texans, I could see them having only 1 or 2 wins. That one win coming maybe against the Falcons, either Falcons or Jaguars, and the second win maybe against the Washington football team.
The Falcons might put up 50 points on the Lions.
Yeah,
I watched that game against the Cowboys today, and they got to 30, they got to 39 in a hurry.
Yeah, by the end of October, I think the Falcons are taking enough losses; they'll be deflated. But either way, like, the Jaguars aren't going to roll over for you. And Gardner Minshew is absolutely a quarterback who will throw on the Lions, and Lions somehow will not have an idea of what to do about it.
Well,
Washington is hapless.
Minshew will throw all over the Lions defense because he has one thing that you need to be a quarterback that can throw against the Lions, and that's a pulse. He's got that. So he fits
moxie.
He fits all of the one qualification of being alive.
He's got moxie and a mustache.
The one thing I can go back to even give like a the tiniest glimmer of hope is the 2018 season, because flip the results. Let's say the Lions played the Packers first, then the Bears second. So then you've got almost an identical start to the season than you did in 2018. You get blown out by the Jets at home. you'll lose a close one to the 49ers that you probably could have or should have won. 0-2, what happens the next week? They host New England, get an unlikely win. Then they lose one to the Cowboys, another close one, beat the Packers, come back, beat the Dolphins out of the bye. They're 3-3. Now, if that's where the story ends, then maybe I would feel pretty good about maybe the Lions turning things around. Unfortunately, that's not where the story ends. The Lions go on to lose, 7 out of the final 10 games or so. But the season is young. If there is some sort of bounce back year, maybe that's what Matt Patricia draws some inspiration from. Just a god awful start to the year. They come back, win 3 out of the next 4 games, and are back in the thick of things. I just don't know, when you look at this specific team, you look at this 2020 team, where is the optimism? Where is the hope? Other than maybe a running game, which we're in 2020 football. How excited can you get about a running game? Especially when you have a defense that's so bad, you're going to be playing from behind all the time and not being able to run the ball.
I do want to address, I agree with everything Jeremy's saying. I do want to address, because I feel like I almost got away from it before hitting this point with Ryan. I do have some reservations about our NFC North rivals that we have lost to now in the first 2 weeks. I think everyone can understand my reservations on the Bears right now. Mitch Trubisky is a mirage. That is not good. He is they've beaten up on teams that the Giants almost did to the Bears. The Bears did to the Lions last week.
And without Saquon Barkley, by the way.
Without Saquon Barkley. As for the Green Bay Packers, the one thing I noticed from a lot of film Twitter when they weren't screaming and crying like infants that they didn't get their all-22 film in time was that everyone was pointing out how bad Minnesota's defense looked in week 1. Now, that could be week 1. That could be Aaron Rodgers is just dunking on you. But at the same time, I also have questions about the Packers. The good news is, or I should say ungood news, is that we'll probably learn very quickly who the Packers are, because they suddenly run through that NFC South gauntlet while we're dealing with everything else. They're at the Saints next week. Then they're playing the Falcons. Then they're at the Buccaneers. Then they play the Texans. Those are some good defenses in there. Or at least on paper, there's some good defenses in there. I see Jeremy's lip twitching a little bit. It's at least, I would say, league average. At least I have a benchmark at that point, is what I am saying. It's not just like a row of bad defenses, So all I'm saying is I got the jury. I'm more inclined to believe that against the Packers, but jury is still out. Jury is absolutely still out.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah. The Packers, just, if you look at their performance through 2 weeks, I don't see a lot of weaknesses on that team. Their defense has been good for most of each game, maybe giving up some late garbage time touchdown in both games. But and that offense, man, where's the weakness? The offensive line is supposed to be really the weak part of that team, and neither the Vikings nor the Lions could exploit that. And they ran the ball down both those teams' throats. So
yeah,
I do think that Packers offense is for real, and it's something that's gonna probably propel them to yet another division title this year.
Yeah, and then probably bomb out again in the playoffs, because I mean, who do they throw to? Is Aaron? All they've got is Aaron Jones.
Devontae Adams,
so we'll
too,
see.
Assuming his hamstring injury isn't too bad.
Yeah. Well, that actually dovetails nicely into what I want to talk about, is the amount of hamstring injuries out there right now. I talked with a former offensive lineman for the then Oakland Raiders, Lincoln Kennedy. I do a radio show with him on Saturday mornings, and we had a disagreement as far as preseason, in that I believe because play looked decent, I thought play looked decent in week 1 of the NFL, and I was arguing that it kind of will hasten the death of the preseason. But Kennedy countered me, and it changed my mind, and it opened me up to this possibility. Kennedy countered me with that a lot of the reasons why we're getting so many soft tissue injuries and hamstring injuries is because of the lack of a preseason. Now, you don't need it for a lot of your skill guys, but for the big guys out there, for the guys who do need to kind of get into football shape, jumping into the season, not having those real snaps from the preseason does hurt you. Now, I would argue, I tried to argue with him. We ran out of time, but I was arguing with him like, okay, yeah, the first team offensive line stays in those preseason games a little longer than the quarterback, but how much longer really? But either way, the point remains is that without a preseason, we're starting to see some injuries, and the Lions have had their bugaboo share of them. You know, we went into this game without 3 starters, without Desmond Trufant, without Kenny Golladay, and without oh my God, why am I blanking on the third name? Joe Dahl, who's now on the IR.
Yeah. I mean, there's technically 2 more guys. You know, Justin Coleman is also on the IR, and Halapuli Vaitai.
He's been there. Yeah.
Halapuli Vaitai was out. So 2 starters on the offensive line, 1 on the defensive line, 2 in the defensive backfield, and then your top wide receiver. Jeff Okudah went through a hamstring injury in training camp. I mean, yeah. Injuries are something that every single team is dealing with. It's not an excuse for the Lions, but yeah, to your overall point that, yeah, without a preseason, without a proper mini camp with OTAs, we're 100% seeing more soft tissue injuries. Matt Patricia's talked about it already plenty too.
I'm glad I talked to Kenny, because coming into this, I was going to bring up the idea that it just feels like this is a repeat of every other year we've had recently, where it just feels like the Lions start the season and they're almost immediately hamstrung. Excuse my pun, not intended, but they are. I can't use any other term here. I wanted to say hobble, but that's not right either. Damn it, Jeremy, I'm in a pit. The Lions always seem, when they start the year in the past few seasons, to be down some players and a few starters because of injuries. And it always seems to be, it's not a full excuse, but it seems to always be a factor in the early seasons when we're talking about the Lions. It's like, yeah, they're just not healthy. And
I think it's especially a big problem during this regime's tenure, though, specifically Bob Quinn, just because they haven't been able to create any depth. And without any depth and without, even standout players at quite a few positions as starters, the proof is just in the pudding. The poor performance on the field is just compounded with, do the Lions lose that Bears game if, they don't sustain all those injuries to their cornerbacks and they have Tony McRae out there who was never meant to do anything other than play special teams? I don't know. But what I do know is that Bob Quinn has just been totally incapable of creating depth on this roster. And we all know how much depth matters in the NFL. It doesn't matter if there's it doesn't matter if there's 4 weeks of preseason and a full training camp, or the situations surrounding this season are happening. Like, the best ability is availability, and I will always stick to that.
Honestly, I don't think depth is hurting this team right now. I think just the lack of good starters. You look at the defense right now. The front 7 is pretty much untouched by injuries. That was the big claim last year, right? Like, we had Trey Flowers was coming into the season injured. Mike Daniels was. Everyone on that defensive front was going through something. Snacks was going through an injury. Jared Davis suffered an injury early in the season. None of that is happening. Like, Nick Williams is the one exception. Nick Williams didn't play today, but Deshaun Hand's healthy. Romeo Okwara's healthy. Just basically everyone on that front 7 is healthy and ready to go. And yes, the back 7 is going through some things, but that's not what's killing this defense as much. It's killing this defense, but not as much. We just talked about how this run defense is just getting imploded every single week. What's the excuse there? There's no top-end talent. That's the excuse. There's no playmaker at any level right now. And we thought there might be with Trey Flowers, with Jamie Collins, with either Jeff Okudah or Tracy Walker. And they're not even starting Tracy Walker, so I guess he's not a playmaker. So who's the playmaker on defense right now? Is there one? Is there a single one?
You can't point to any.
Duron Harmon? Is that what you got? A guy that...
No, Duron Harmon's a solid player, but he's not making plays for you. And he shouldn't be asked to be the one who's making plays for you as a damn safety.
And we talked about all the playmakers all offseason that the Lions have on offense, and whether it's Stafford's fault, whether it's the play calling's fault, we haven't seen enough big plays there either. We haven't seen enough big plays. TJ Hawkinson's been fine, but we haven't seen any big plays from him. Marvin Jones got his first touchdown, but he hasn't taken over like a true number one receiver would in Kenny Galladay's absence.
Yeah. The one other thing I want to mention is that I think it's unfair to heap blame on Stafford so far through 2 games, although he's been bad.
This is where I want to go. So yeah. Continue.
Yeah. And so, but where I'm at with Stafford right now is I think that the margin for error with this offense is so razor thin that if Stafford takes a bad sack, or if Stafford makes one bad throw and it ends up being a pick six, or it ends up being a costly interception that sets the other team up with good field position, that's curtains for the game. Yeah. So, I mean, his margin of error is so razor thin, and it's a bummer to hold him to a higher standard, but we've seen him play out of his mind. And that's what this team is going to need. And I don't think that's news to anybody. I don't think that that's something shocking going into the season, because yes, the Lions have playmakers on their team, but like Danny Amendola is a playmaker to what extent? Like TJ Hawkinson has proved to us that he is a playmaker to what extent? I mean, I'm just saying some of the ancillary pieces that people are counting to have this offense be humming on all cylinders, and I don't want to be dumb, but Kenny Galladay out, Marvin Jones, I mean, yeah, he had a touchdown catch today. The backfield pieces that are put together. Stafford is the straw that stirs the drink. And if he's not stirring, it's just going to all fall apart. Not just offensively, but the entire team.
In the second half of this game, Marvin Jones and TJ Hawkinson combined for 1 catch for 4 yards.
Solid.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, I think that also real quick, I think that also comes back to your point about like, is this Darrell Bevel not turning things up? Or is this Stafford?
If it isn't turning things up, now is the time. But like I do think Stafford, like, listen, we set expectations rocket sky high. But if you want to talk about Stafford, I mean, we talked about it. It was like Stafford, you kind of almost have to stand on your head the entire game, which is unrealistic sometimes. But we thought, like, we were talking before the season, and at least, I mean, maybe it's on me thinking, we're talking comeback player of the year. We're talking maybe MVP votes for him. And I don't know, man, when you're trying to get out of your own end zone and the first play is an interception, like, that sucks. And like, listen, he doesn't have the greatest receiving threats out there, but he just didn't have a good game regardless. And sometimes if you're that quarterback, you've got to make what you have work for you. And if it is on Darrell Bevel, fine. Okay. I can buy that. I would wonder like what you can do behind the scenes to make them let you run free. Like we've seen Stafford do before where he thrives, but I feel like too long we've kind of said that, hey, Stafford criticism is verboten here. He's not the problem. And for a lot of times, that's right. But in this game, he did not do very well. He ends the day with a 55 QBR. He just did not look well out there. He put up his usual numbers, but just when the time came down, whether it was the play calls that were being dialed up, or if it was just him in general, that offense wasn't rolling through its quarterback. I'm not saying that he's the reason they lost. I'm not saying it's the reason the offense is falling apart, but it's definitely not helping the situation right now.
Let's be clear about a couple things. One, yes. His pick six had nothing to do with play calling. It was 100% his mistake. It was a hot read. He read it completely wrong. The safety was kind of hiding in the wings there. Didn't see him. Threw a horrible pass. Can't have that happen at that point in the game at all. 100% on Stafford. No.
Yeah, that game was still within hand at that point.
Absolutely. It was a 10-point game there.
Yeah, I think that was the drive right after. Like that was shortly after.
Literally the play after the
Aaron Jones came out after the half. Yeah,
75-yard run.
No, it was like 2 punts. There was 2 punts in between that touchdown, and like, but still, like, still like complete the game completely in range of that point. Yep. This is what you're supposed to do in that point. You put on your big boy pants.
Stafford was also fairly inaccurate in this game. Missed a couple open receivers, forced another couple balls. He's clearly not quite himself yet. And the thing that we always have to remind ourselves, Short offseason, dealing with not a bunch of new receivers, but some new receivers. And this guy hadn't played football since October. So there is going to be some rust that would have otherwise hopefully been knocked off during preseason or OTAs or mini camp. So there's a lot of factors here, but that's not to excuse a 12-year veteran from making some really ugly mistakes that really he should not be making at this point in his career. So yes, he does deserve some of the blame for this team and how it's performed. He does deserve plenty of blame for last week's loss against Chicago. We talked about the sack that he shouldn't have taken. We talked about the interception he threw in that game. Interceptions are a big deal. It's one of the reasons why Aaron Rodgers is such a transcendent talent, is he avoids interceptions unlike any quarterback I've ever seen. Matthew Stafford doesn't do that. And so there is a very clear tier between those two quarterbacks, even at this point in their career. But I'm still willing to give Matthew Stafford the benefit of the doubt. I really am. I think he turns it around this year. And whether that turns the team around completely, I don't think so. Because like Ryan said, right now his margin for error is 0. The dude cannot make a single mistake other than like an incomplete pass. If he takes a bad sack, drive over. If he throws an interception, game over. Because that's just giving the defense another possession, and we know what they're going to do with it. They're going to name a running back to just run up the gap. And so Stafford will improve. It might make the games closer. It might even mean they pull out a win or two and play close to 500 football. But he's not good enough, and I don't know if there is a quarterback that's good enough to win games with the way the defense is playing right now.
Yeah, it's theoretical at this point, and I agree. He's got time to turn it around. It's still the second game of the season. As you said, there's been no real off-season like reps for him to speak of. Just I'm speaking in the moment right now. In the moment, factually, did not have a good game, and that's all. That's all that needs to be out there. And I'm sorry, it makes people uncomfortable sometimes. Because there's a huge industry out there and there's a huge argument out there about how good of a quarterback Stafford is. And it's kind of overwrought at this point. I don't believe in this idea of that he's just a garbage time quarterback getting stats. Although that Quintus Cephas throw definitely was one, but that was more for Quintus Cephas's stat line than anything.
The thing I can't believe is that people are already playing let's just trade Stafford now while we can thing. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo's injured. There's a bunch of other guys that got injured. It's just first of all,
damn early.
Bob Quinn would never that's signing his own papers. That's signing his own pink slip. If
Stafford's gone, the house is being cleaned.
Yes. So that's not happening.
Top to bottom, bug bombs, deep cleaning everything.
Guess what could be the worst case scenario though, and take us right back into Dante's Inferno? What if he gets the green light to clean house and stick around?
If he can find a different coach than Matt Patricia, I might be down for that. Might be. His draft picks have not been great, but he's made some decent free agent acquisitions now, at least on paper.
If Bob Quinn stays and Matt Patricia goes, guess who's coming around the corner? Some other Patriots cast off. That's what's happening, because that's what Bob Quinn is comfortable with.
Well, let's table this because let's take a break. Let's take a break because next segment, the big fish himself, Mr. Best Play of 2015 Super Bowl himself, and everything that comes with it, and his seat scalded so hot you could use it for a yakiniku place or a Korean barbecue. Just cook some raw marinated steak on it. I haven't been to one of those since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the United States, man. I miss those places so much. I want to go to one so badly. I'm sorry. Jeremy was chiding me in the break for making a 300s reference, but
if you would have just said beef bulgogi, then everyone would have understood.
Bulgogi. No. You settle down. Not everyone knows what
you could fry some beef bulgogi on Matt Patricia's seat.
You know what? Okay, you're right. I could have word shot that. I will take some of the blame for this. As Stafford should take some of the blame. But let's take the break right now on the Pride of Detroit POD cast, play a little grab ass with the Twitch chat, and then be right back to talk about the second Boston boy, Matty P. All right. Go ahead, Jeremy.
All right. Jump Die. Thank you for converting your Prime subscription to a Tier 1 subscription. Appreciate that. We also got a bunch of follows. Batman, Ajarm, Dat Guy, Aldo cheered 1 bit. Thank you for the bit. And Fid Nasty also followed the stream. Thank you. Welcome to the Pride, everybody. We're gonna try to get through this, y'all. It's gonna be a long season, but you know what?
This is a lot of just working stuff out. I promise you, probably next few weeks, if it keeps up, we're just gonna start leaning into just trying to be a little more funny because I don't think we're gonna have the rage for the entire year.
Maybe not. Noah Stevens Fuzzy is awesome. First of all, fantastic name. Second of all, thank you for the follow. Let's go over to the chat. What are y'all saying? Let's see. Cram says, like, this team is devoid of any talent. Why wouldn't we try to start completely fresh? Yeah, I mean, but I don't know exactly what that's in reference to. If it's in reference to trading Stafford, I'm not sure that's, I mean,
again,
maybe.
It's week 2. It's week 2. I know I'm kicking the can down the road a little bit. We still have 15 more weeks of this, man. Like, until someone pulls that lever, I'm not ready to move into that zone, into that theoretical zone yet. Like, I can't. I just can't. Dat Guy Aldo, is it too early for draft talk? Most colleges haven't even played. Like, I know eventually we're going to have to talk draft to keep our download numbers up, and Jeremy hates that because I showed him the other day one of our best performing episodes from 2019 was a from early 2020.
February.
February.
We can talk about the draft in February.
A mock draft episode you did in February was one of our best performing episodes of the last calendar year. I'm sorry, man. It's going to happen.
Christopher Blevins, we are not talking about Trevor Lawrence here. I'm sorry. We're not talking about Trevor Lawrence. We're not talking Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy. There it is. We're not talking about either of those two.
This entire channel banned.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to mute Bieniemy, and I'm going to mute Lawrence on Twitter until at least December. I don't want to hear it. Sorry, I don't. What is Trevor Lawrence going to do to stop Green Bay from running for 250 yards in a game?
Yeah, I also just don't buy into Trevor Lawrence in general. I don't see him as the same quarterback as a Joe Burrow, as the same prospect as a Joe Burrow or a Kyler Murray or even a Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't see him as that kind of prospect. I'm sorry. For what? Because he plays for Clemson? Come on.
I'm not here to say that drafting a quarterback is going to be a bad strategy for the Lions in 2021. It could work out. It might make sense. But
I just don't think it's Trevor Lawrence.
Moving on from Matthew Stafford moves the needle from here to here. Like, there's still all of this room right here to, like, where do you see the defensive improvement?
Yeah, we're kind of getting caught in that trap that the Jets and the Browns always get caught in, where they just draft quarterbacks. Even like, I've seen some of my Jets people that I know already talk about Trevor Lawrence as well. There's going to be a race for the tank this season for Trevor Lawrence, and the Jets are like, "Oh yeah, we'll get Trevor Lawrence." Like, you just got Sam Darnold, and you haven't improved crap anywhere else. Like, you're putting literally the cart before the horse here. Settle down just a little bit.
Lions are bad, y'all.
Hey, check this fun stat out. Ready?
What's up?
Ready, chat? Pressure dropbacks from today. Aaron Rodgers, 6.9%. Nice. Matthew Stafford, 27%.
Not nice.
Not good.
Not even.
Can you
close
DM me
tonight.
that stat, Jeremy, just so I have that for stock report. I've got to watch some tape to figure out where that's coming from on the offensive line. But
watch Ode Ibushi. He was trash today.
Yeah, he was real bad.
Yeah,
real
I
bad.
already noted him, but I just wanted to see if there was any other offenders out there. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Crosby wasn't very good either. That right side of the line was not good. Jonah Jackson had a really good block on the Adrian Peterson run that went for 29 or so.
Yeah. Adrian Peterson not as electric as the other day.
He just didn't get the opportunity.
He just didn't have. I expected chunk yards from him. Like he could get free against the Bears and went for chunk yards. Like, I I needed to find. I'm trying to find the stat on how many times he converted downs in that Bears game, but it definitely wasn't happening here. And he lost some yardage there to carry on Johnson. They stopped leaning on the run game. Have they just decided to put DeAndre Swift entirely in that old Theo Riddick, you are only going to catch passes role?
I think that was the plan to start. I think eventually.
Okay. No, I can buy that. I can buy that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Eventually, he'll run the ball more. But yeah, no, I think that's where they knew his strength was, so they put him there.
I had a lot of arguments over this weekend about how much blame you put on DeAndre Swift, and I'm trying to defend him, and some other people just want to crush him for that drop pass. But I'm just like, I don't know. Some people aren't buying the argument that game shouldn't have come to that place in the first place, but whatever. He knows.
Oh, you think the Lions should have been able to hold on to a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter?
I don't know. I don't want to even argue with this guy. Like, I'm not even going to try to put myself in his shoes. I like the guy who I was arguing with, but I was like, nah, the game should have never had to rest on his shoulders in the first place.
Fallen asks, serious question: do we have the slowest linebacking core in the league? Probably. Probably. The speed, honestly, not that. Is not what I'm concerned with. The thing that I saw in this game was just wide open receivers, guys that were leaving their zones, guys that were plugging the wrong run fits. I mean, the same thing we've seen from Jared Davis for 4 years now is just not staying disciplined to what he's supposed to do. Do your job. Like, that's supposed to be the Patriots mantra. And Jared Davis, when he gets out there, is just like, what'd you say? Whose job should I do? Everybody's job? Okay, I'll try to do everybody's job. Is it this job? Is it just let me just run in all different directions. And that's, I mean, like, I think one of the plays that infuriated me the most was the Lions were facing like a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4 as the Packers were like at the 11-yard line about to score. Aaron Rodgers dumps off a pass to Aaron Jones, wide open, not no one within 5 yards of him, and he just walks into the end zone. Like, that's what it was all day. And I think speed maybe have a little bit to do, especially when they run so many crossing routes. But like if you just stay in your zone, like, you got a chance to make that play. It was
rough day all around.
They're playing more zone coverage than you think, Nick. I think they played a lot today.
Yeah, it's not like it used to be. It's not, it's not the man that we bash them for. It's just they're just not good at either, really.
They aren't.
CenturyLink looks damn weird when it's empty. Just because it's got that, like, those end zone seats. Sorry, I know this is unrelated. I'm just watching the Football Night in America broadcast.
Speaking of which,
I was going to say, by the way, RIP to your bet, Ryan.
That's all right. I put 50 on him to just win the game too. So that one.
By the way, any guesses? I've been doing this thing with my friend where it's we do straight up winners and against the spread winners. But then before that, earlier in the week, we try to guess the opening lines for each game. So do you want to try to make a guess on what the opening line for Cardinals Lions is going to be if you haven't seen it already?
Not that it matters, but for some reason Vegas still thinks that home field advantage matters. So where's the game at?
Arizona.
Well, here's the thing too: is like some of these lines have been going pretty jiffy pop all over the place.
I'm gonna say it opens up at 6.5, like this one did.
Okay, I see the open already. You said 6.5.
Yeah,
that's close to where it is right now. It's right now a -6 at Westgate, but it opened at Arizona -3.5.
Yeah, it'll probably balloon to like 7 or 7.5 by the end of the week.
Yeah, it's probably going to get some action tonight and probably move it north of a touchdown by like a hook. I think that's about fair. Is that something you guys would like to see on Pride Detroit, by the way, Chad, and just breaking down why these lines, like maybe on like a Tuesday or something, like why a line looks like that for the Lions?
Mansour had a nice betting article this morning. I don't think he did that well on it, but in terms of the bet that he would have taken, yeah.
I remember when me and Ryan were doing those seven picks each week article, and I was treading water every year. So I'm much more on the research side. I much more enjoy the research side than I do trying to be the better side. But we should get back into this because I know this is starting to weigh on us.
This is the part everyone's been waiting for. Everyone's going to want to hear us talk about Patricia. So.
Yeah, I know me and Jeremy were talking about maybe dividing up the podcast, each of these segments into their own separate podcasts. Unfortunately, I think we'd fall afoul of my restriction because of California law and Vox Media. But I almost want to chop this one separate just because I know people are going to want to skip ahead to it.
Whatever.
So, yeah. All right.
Make them wait. Dangle it.
Well, I think what I should do to start each episode now is maybe at the start saying what we're talking about and where we're talking about it, not with a timestamp, but like, in the C block, we talk this, so on and so forth. Yeah. But,
for sure.
Anyway, let's go.
All right.
Wrapping up the show here on the Pride of Detroit POD cast for NFL Week 2. Lions at Packers as the Lions get their doors blown off by the hated Green Bay Packers. All is spiraling into chaos, anarchy, Nyx, Thanos, whatever eldritch deities you have from Greek pantheons of death and oblivion. Jeremy's already been yelling at me about my references. I'm sorry. Let's get to the big kahuna, the big one here today. And I know it's the one everyone has been waiting for. It's been flooding our Twitch chat the moment we turned the stream on, and it was during our post-game show. And we've been holding off because we wanted to get through everything else. This is a slow build-up. Here comes the main course, folks. We fed you the soup. We fed you the salad. Hope you've made room for some lamb here. Let's talk about Matt Patricia. And let's talk about the job the coaching staff has been doing through the first 2 weeks. Because I think something we hit on, rightly so, last game, Jeremy, was the play calling is in the limelight, and it's not helping out anyone on any side of the ball, the plays that are being dialed up. The pattern of offense that this team is being asked to perform. And the defensive play is probably not helping either. I'm not smart enough to break all those down, but it's definitely not putting players in positions to get home. And we saw Patricia pilloried in the media, more locally than nationally. I think most national people just ignored it, about him saying that you shouldn't worry about fourth quarter play calls because he had the best fourth quarter play call in Super Bowl history, which, by the way, we're recording this during Patriots at Packers right now.
Seahawks.
Seahawks. What
you said? Patriots, Packers. Patriots, Seahawks.
Yeah, I did. Patriots, Seahawks. Excuse me. I've been drinking a beer while we've been doing this. Adequate. People will say I deserve to lose my job because I made a silly mistake like that. But man. Like, when you get in that position and you're that combative, you can't come out and lay another egg out there. You can't come back out here and do everything we were criticizing you for doing last week. It's a Groundhog Day here for Matt Patricia. It didn't look good. We can talk about Stafford wasn't on his game. We can talk about this defense just not being good or dealing with injuries in certain parts or starters being out. But man, this seat is scalding hot right now for Matt Patricia. This is supposed to be year 3. This was supposed to be when you had to show all your homework. And right now, there's a lot of incomplete pages. Anything to say on that, Ryan, our resident local expert on teaching?
I mean, I think that there would just straight up be a lot of red marks on any sheet of paper that Matt Patricia turned in, especially even today. I mean, there's a sequence after the Lions score their second touchdown on their second drive. It's 9 plays, 20 yards, punt. 3 plays, -2 yards, punt. 3 plays, 36 yards because Green Bay was playing some prevent defense and missed field goal. 3 plays 4 yards after the half, 1 play 0 yards for a pick 6, 3 plays 9 yards for a punt. Like it just all fell apart like in the middle. And at some point, this has to be a coaching thing. Well, I mean, coming out of the second quarter, Jeremy, you can get to your point next, but I just think coming out of the second quarter, coming into the second half, that first play, 1 rush, 75 yards, Aaron Jones to the house. It was, like I said, that one play is going to be so symbolic of Matt Patricia as a head coach, because it's unprepared, bad defense, bad defense.
No question. And to me, my kind of like sticking point with the coaching team in this game, and what I view as kind of the turning point of the entire game, is that drive, that 2-minute drill drive at the end of the first half. The Lions have the ball, their own 7-yard line. Not a great position to be in. I understand that. But you have the ball. The Packers have 1 timeout. You have 3. What's going through Matt Patricia's brain at that moment? Is it, okay, let's get some more points. We're up by 4. Let's try to at least push that to 7, maybe even get 2 scores. Is that what his first priority in his brain is at that moment? Absolutely not. 100% no. His going through his mind is, we've got bad field position. The Packers only have 1 timeout. Let's run out this bitch. Let's get to half up 4. No fire mentality there. And I was broadcasting live on Super Squares, and I said to John, I said, listen, given the timeouts that the Packers have, given where they are in the field position, this team is going to try to run out the clock right now. I guarantee you they come out running. What did they do? Run the ball 4 yards. Now they're in a 2nd and 6 from their 11-yard line. They do go to pass at this point. Stafford doesn't find anyone. He gets sacked. Clock still runs. So at that point, they get the Packers to use their final timeout. But they're in a disaster of a situation now. Now it's 3rd and 16. Packers don't have any timeouts.
At their own 1-yard line.
At their own 1-yard line. And so what do? We all know the answer. And to be fair, probably throwing in this situation is a bit too dangerous. I will admit that. But basically what you've done now is you've made it so you have to run. You're going to burn 40 seconds off the clock. Aaron Rodgers will get it with about 30 seconds. And you've made it in a situation where, well, okay, you're not going to put up any more points, but at least the Packers are going to score 3 at most. Then what happens? Ode Ibushi gets called for a holding penalty. The Lions, the clock stops. Now you've given Aaron Rodgers an extra 30 to 40 seconds. He goes in and scores. That's the end of the game. That's the end of the game right there. Packers take the lead into the half when you just dominated the entire, first quarter and extra. And why? Because you don't have that fire mentality. You don't have that dagger time mentality. Your mentality is, you know what? Aaron Rodgers is on that other side of the field, and I'm scared of him. So let's not give the ball to the boogeyman. Well, guess what? He's going to get the ball anyways pretty soon, and he's going to light you up. So you know what you got to do? You got to fight back. You got to take the game to him. When it's in the second half and you're facing a 3rd and 1 and you're already down 2 or 3 scores, I don't care where you are on your part of the field. You go for that. No fire mentality from this team. And it's the 2nd straight week. And you know what? It's not just the 2nd straight week of this kind of mentality. It's the 3rd straight year. It's not changing. And so at that point, I mean, that's where the game turned on its edge. And I'm not saying if the Lions go for points at the end of the first half, they're going to win this game. They probably don't, because their defense is that bad. But if we're just talking about game management decisions, they're not cutting it there. And we'll get into all the other issues with Matt Patricia, because there's plenty of them. The fact that the defense sucks is not a game management issue. But I have issues with Patricia's game management, and this was just another example of it.
Is anyone seriously using the term dagger time anymore in the Lions locker room? Do you think TJ Hawkinson just God, I regret ever saying that? You think it's like that now? Because you know who had dagger time down was the Green Bay Packers. It's like Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife. This is a knife. They showed you, Detroit, what a dagger time is supposed to look like, and they put it in you, and they twisted. I agree with Jeremy. On the defense, it's not all in the play calling, but when you are a defensive-minded coach, it falls upon you. It falls upon you to have those guys prepared, to have your schemes just lock, stock, and barrel, to have guys understanding what their role is out there, to be just humming and rolling. And hey, Matt Patricia, I know he likes to lean on his past accolades. Let me tell you something, man. past years with the I almost did it again, with the Patriots, those defenses with Matt Patricia always started out very slow. It's one of the reasons I didn't want him as a coach in the first place. All right. Like those Patriots defenses always started out at the first half of the year at the bottom of DVOA, and they'd always put it together later. When you have someone like Bill Belichick over your shoulder and you have a quarterback like Tom Brady that the Patriots did, you can afford to have those kind of slow starts to a year on one of your units. The Lions do not have that luxury. The Lions have not had that luxury, and they're getting buried for it. I don't know if he's just starting slow or if it's just bad. Either way, doesn't look like good stuff out there. And I'm not excusing Daryl. And like I know I've seen some people. Listen, if you're coming to this podcast at wanting to hear whether or not we think Patricia should be fired, it's week 2. Let's rebound on this during the bye week, because I think by the bye week we will have the full picture of what's going to come. But I will just say this. I see some people starting to say that they would be comfortable with Darrell Bevell taking interim head coach right now. I mean, we just talked a lot of the reasons why the offense is not doing well. Yeah, I don't know if how much of this falls on Darrell Bevell too.
I mean, but what does Darrell Bevell as head coach do for the defense?
That's true. Yeah, like that's the thing, is like it's a whole coaching staff problem here. And once again, the buck stops. He has to stop with Matt Patricia. It stops at the top. You can't keep passing this off to the underlings. The big man has to take responsibility. You are a leader. You have to take responsibility, and you have to make sure that your people are in the positions they need to succeed the best. And right now, that's not happening in Detroit. Nothing's working in Detroit right now, man. If it was just one guy, if it was just Joe Lombardi in the past, okay. This is everywhere. What do I do with that? We can't just fire everyone and replace everyone here. What am I supposed to do with this? Except think that it's your fault.
Yeah, the thing that I always struggle with, and it's something that I don't advocate for very often, is the mid-season firing of your head coach.
No, I don't want to even say we had Jonas on a couple weeks ago. One of the things Jonas Knox, great guy, I work with him. One of the things he says, he doesn't like calling for people to be fired because he knows from personal experience. He says it right up. It sucks to lose your job.
Yeah, no
it
question.
Sucks so hard on a personal level to lose your job, no matter how much you're pulling down, no matter how powerful you are. But on the other hand, we have to engage in your job critically here.
Yeah. And I'm just to kind of continue with that point, like, we see it sometimes spark something with teams like the Browns. Obviously, when they went through a mid-season coaching change, it sparked a late season thing. But how long did that how long did the honeymoon last with Freddie Kitchens the next year? Not very long. And
hell, we seen it here in Detroit. You know, you put Jim Bob Cooter in place of Joe Lombardi. That got you a spark for a while,
right? And it doesn't last for long. And I don't know how many people realistically think that a mid-season change can save the season. Save the season to a point where I'm talking about this team being competitive for the playoffs.
We're not even mid-season, Jeremy. That's the other thing too.
True. But
you can't call it mid-season when we're only 2 games
I'm
out
just
of
saying
the
issues with this team run so deep because Matt Patricia isn't just, it's not just about like, okay, we cut off the head here and suddenly everything else. It's like his reach in this team goes down to the roots of this team in terms of
this
the
is
personnel.
A team in his image.
Yes, absolutely. And so I don't know if a coaching change really does anything to change the trajectory of this team this year. And I don't know if I even want it to at this point because I think we're just stuck here. And at this point, the writing, it's early, but the writing kind of seems like it's on the wall right now for Quinn Trisha. And I mean, there's nothing you can do about it for this year. No amount of coaching changes, of flipping people's responsibilities within the coaching staff. Nothing's going to fix that. This is going to be Patricia's team, whether he's on it or not, for 2020. So let's just come to terms with that, ride it out, and see what happens at this point. I mean, I'm not happy with anything he's doing at this point in terms of player development, in terms of in-game management, in terms of strategy, in terms of philosophy. there's nothing I'm on board with him about. But what is going to change when you've got a staff full of his people?
Yeah. When you've got all the guys he wanted to play in the system. And when he's the one who probably is in Quinn's ear about, these are the groceries I want to make this thing hum. Like former Patriots guys all the way down in a lot of these units.
Not just the players, the coaches too. The coaches all have some sort of, not all, but most of them have some sort of tie to Patricia. So it's just like everything has his face on it. Everything, every little thing. So unless you plan on somehow overhauling the coaching staff and the roster mid-season, you're stuck with this guy whether he's on the team or not.
Yeah, we are talking about the apotheosis of 3 years of coaching and 2 additional years before then of Bob Quinn being in here paving the way for Patricia once Caldwell was gone. That's what you're dealing with here. The rot, like if you believe that this coaching staff is a rot on the foundation, I'm not saying it is, but if that is where you stand right now on this team, you have to understand you're not just going to bring a bug bomb in here and clean out the termites. This is going to cost some money, and this is going to take some time. Ryan, what's your assessment here?
Say something nice about Matt Patricia.
Why?
You don't need to. You absolutely do not need to.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could say one nice thing about Matt Patricia. Like, I don't know him personally. Professionally, he sucks at his job.
What do you think of the name Matthew? Do you like it?
A lot of people call me Matt.
Matthew is speaking as a Catholic, Matthew is the weakest of the 4 Gospels.
Yeah, I don't know. There's only one Matthew that should be on this team. There's not room for 2 Matthews.
Uh-oh. Prater or Stafford? Got him.
Come on.
Got him.
Come on.
Is this like the Jet Li movie where like there's like a million Jet Lis and it's basically Highlander but with martial arts?
That
was the name of the movie. I'm sorry.
Okay. The one thing I want to say is that regardless of how everything goes down, I will be so bummed out if Matt Stafford goes somewhere else and finally gets everything he deserves. Like, I'll be happy for him, sure, but I don't think that there would have ever been a low point as low as that as a Detroit Lions fan. Like, even the 0-16 season, I think like watching Matt Stafford go have success somewhere else will be the biggest gut punch that I have ever experienced as a Lions fan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't be happy if Stafford goes somewhere else and balls out. I wasn't happy with when Verlander did it with the Astros. Like, I know you want to see the guys succeed, but it's like it feels like a punch when it's just like I think you're right. This feels worse than 08 because this feels like the twilight of all the promise since 08, of all that talent that was cultivated, of the quarterback that's led this team, of all the pieces that have kind of come and gone, and yet at its base, the general philosophy of what are the Detroit Lions stood steady for 12 years. And it feels like, I mean, we just dismissed this idea of trading Stafford or whatever, but it does feel like, for reasonable or not, a lot of fans feel like this is the twilight of the gods right now. This is Goddardammerung. This is just, it feels like the candles are slowly flickering out on this vision of what the Lions era has been for over 12 years. And that sucks, man. That sucks because we know that road coming back it could be as long, if not longer.
And yeah, I don't want to mince words here. Like, this team fought so hard to get out of that 0-16 hole for 11 years now. Kudos to Jim Schwartz for doing it in a fairly quick fashion. I mean, this team made the playoffs in 2011, 3 years after going 0-16, and that team was completely devoid. It took him 3 years. Guess what year we're on? Year 3.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he didn't take him past mediocrity, but he got him there. And then Jim Caldwell took over this team for 3 or 4 years.
2 playoff appearances.
2 playoff appearances, 9 back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in 20 years. We fought like
winning
hell.
Winning record overall for him.
This team was no longer an embarrassment. It wasn't necessarily, a team that everyone talked about, but this was a team that was competitive. This is a team that wasn't the Browns or, the Bucks before they got Tom Brady. It was a team that was good enough to not be on Tonight Show gags. I mean, remember that? Remember when Jay Leno was making fun of this team? We're headed straight fucking there again.
Well, there's no Jay Leno anymore, so that's at least
great.
Your
Jimmy Fallon, great. That's going to feel much better.
Yeah. Actually, I Jimmy Fallon does feel a lot better than Jay Leno.
I don't even know.
But no, like I get you though. 2014, like God, we were talking about that defense. We were talking about Ndamukong Suh, and we were talking about all those guys. That defense. Purring, man, such a damn good defense. And then in 2016, like you were seeing Sunday Night Football talking about Stafford, because it's hard not to when you have like that was the best year we've had as a Pride of Detroit crew. Like all those memories of all those comebacks of me flipping out in front of my entire family during Thanksgiving and everything else, man. Like those all felt good. And it just feels like, God, we're getting away. It's like the further away I get from the Tigers in the playoffs or the Pistons in the NBA finals, like time fades those legends, and we're headed on that path right now. Maybe it turns around. Who knows? So, as we said, maybe it might just take 3 years, turn it around. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe we look back on this in 4 weeks and we do one of those podcasts where we're saying, hey, we were all overreacting. That's fine if we were, man. That's fine if we were. But odds aren't looking good right now. It's a heavy underdog right now in the Vegas betting.
I think when it really hit me just how bad this team has sunk is the tweet from John Neo from the Detroit News.
Yeah, you want to read that record? Yeah.
Through 34 games, Matt Patricia now has a worse record than Rod Marinelli, who went 0-16 in his third year. Rod Marinelli was 10-24. Matt Patricia is now 9-24-1. Worse than Rod
Jim
Marinelli.
Schwartz was 10-24 as well.
Yes, Jim Schwartz, who had to take over a winless team, started 10-24. Guess what? Matt Patricia did not take over a winless team. He took over a 9-7 team, and hasn't.
He took over a team that went to the 2 playoff appearances.
Yes,
in the 3 years prior.
He has dug this franchise back into a hole that we thought we were out of when Matthew Stafford arrived. And he's done it with Matthew Stafford, which makes it even worse. It makes it even worse. This team is as bad as it was during 0-16, and they have a franchise quarterback. Think about that. Think about that for a second. What does that really mean? It means he's sunken the entire rest of the roster so bad that having a top 10 quarterback doesn't even matter. And I know he didn't have Matthew Stafford for 8 games, but he's had him for every single other one of those games. And they're still not winning games. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And I'm not looking forward to the rest of the season. I've never been this dispassionate about the team this early. And it's really, really depressing. And it's on Patricia. I can't point the blame anywhere. I can't give this guy any more excuses or any more chances or any more hope. I can't even look to next week in Arizona or next week past that, whoever the Lions play. I'm not even thinking about those games anymore because I don't have any hope. This team hasn't shown any improvement in 3 years. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I hate using the wasting his years thing, but they're wasting his years. Terry Bradshaw went off on him today. Terry Bradshaw is right. The Lions have made Terry Bradshaw right. Think about that.
It's a dark timeline.
It's the darkest timeline. I
have a little bit more red meat, but Ryan, you haven't spoken in a while. I want to give the floor to you in case you've got something.
I have nothing to say about this football team.
The last thing I'm going to say is this, and it's going above the head of the coaching of the Boston boys for a second. I am not one of these people who believes that you like this weird tortured Occam's razor that you strip away everything, and the last point you have, the last villain you have, the last explanation you have is that it's the Ford family. However, I saw this from those DET guys who are, friends, whose friends we've met them in person, everything. And I agree with what they said here. Ownership needs to feel this pain as well. I'm not saying the Fords are a reason, whether they're sitting on their butts, but I just want to say you've got another new generation. You've got another new Ford owning this team in Sheila Ford Hamp, passed on from Martha Firestone Ford. And you've got a scenario where everything we have been talking about, this is a fan voice right now. This is an analytic voice, but at the end of the day, Pride of Detroit is supposed to be a voice for the fans. And we're sitting here saying this course is untenable. And we don't see a lot of ways that the ship can right itself. And when it gets to that point, there is a call to action that fans look to from their ownership. You remember how people felt when Martha took over the team and cleaned house. And yeah, it was short-lived, and we talked about all the reasons, like she didn't pick the wrong guy. I mean, she picked the wrong guy, but for all the right reasons. It wasn't out of her fault.
Right.
You know, she spoke to the smartest people in the room. She hired the best dang analysts out there and people to help her hire the right person. But that's it. She wanted to win for this team. It wasn't just hiring a drinking buddy or a guy you saw on television that you thought was smart. There was justification and reason for the hire, and it just turned out to be the wrong hire. And I think what Sheila Ford Hamp hopefully understands is that time is running out on this vision of this team that started in, after the doldrums of 2008. That time is ticking and running out, and, hard decisions have to be made above the heads of the coach, maybe above the head of the general manager. If it's above the head of a general manager, that does fall to ownership to finally pull that trigger. They don't have a lot of responsibilities out there, owners, except to collect their money. But in this case, because you have to fight off, you don't have to fight off that narrative. I think fans have already dug in their heels, whether they want to blame the Fords or not. But in this particular case, there's a chance here. There's a chance to change all of that, to change a lot of that right now. I'm not saying she needs to do it, but I'm just saying, I agree with those Detroit guys. I hope they feel the pain of the fans, even though the fans aren't there on Sunday to make that pain be felt. Because right now, this frustration is going to even the most Jeremy's one of the most even-keeled people out here when it comes to the Lions. It's bizarre and it's weird. And I am a guy who I like to think that I'm always looking on the bright side of life, and maybe not a slappy, but trying to find the funny stuff out here. And we're running out of ground here. Jeremy plays a lot of Fall Guys. This is like the final level. This is like the final platform in Hexagon, and there's not a lot of more room to jump.
We're out, man. We're out, and there's teams way above us. There are teams 5 levels ahead of us, and we're just hopping around on the 3 remaining tile, hoping somehow everyone else plummets with all these injuries happening in the NFL. Maybe if everyone just dive bombs, the Lions have a chance to win a couple games this year. But man, I don't see it happening.
And with that, we're out. I hope next week we can maybe lighten the mood a little bit here. We're going to have more podcasts for you.
I'll continue to rant. People seem to respond very well to the rant I just had. So maybe we'll just rant.
People need that pain. People absolutely need that pain. As I said, we got to make that pain felt somehow. So I, myself, Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter, PERFETT. I think I added an extra one in there, PERFETT. Let me do that again. Thank you. Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Another Matthew, by the way.
And proud of it, kind of.
Okay. Well, you got the S on the end, so it barely even counts too. So.
And I only have one T in my name too.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It doesn't count at all.
Yeah, it's like a mutant. It's like a mutant Matthew.
To hell with my name.
And of course, Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit On Lion. Folks, download the podcast. You're listening to it right now. I hope watch on Twitch, download the podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, prideofdetroit.com. See you Starside, and go Lions. Oh my God. All right, we're out. Let me close up Craig. He's about to leave, so just FYI, Jeremy.
That's okay. We'll just make this guy disappear.
I'm out.
You out of here? Everyone say goodbye to Ryan.
Go.
Bye, Ryan.
See y'all.
I'll stick around for a little bit. I do want to watch some of the Sunday night game, which is 7-7.
Oh, man, Greg Olson just got his lunch money taken right off the bat, man.
I think I'm going to clip that rant at some point. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, no, I will. Tonight, I'm going to make some clippings from the podcast, so I'll try to save that as an individual video.
Yeah, I mean, I could also just pull it from Twitch, but.
Oh yeah. Save it for Twitch too, but like I know the Twitch links, like they don't really format that well onto, like the Twitch embed on Twitter just still does not look great.
Really quick, let me catch up on some alerts here. Jay Levinson, thank you for the follow. The thank you for the follow and the 100 bits saying y'all speaking facts. Love the podcast. Thanks for saying that. Ketchup, appreciate it. Caveman, thank you for the follow, and J Bro, appreciate the follow. We'll finish up here with some questions if you guys got them. Like I said, I do want to kind of get back to both work and watching some of Sunday Night Football. But if you guys have any questions about what happened in the game, what happens next, well, this is the fun part about you being here live. We get to answer your questions, interact with you in the chat, because obviously during the podcast itself, it's kind of just us talking.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm moving the chat around on my windows now that I don't have to have it in one place.
Blazer says.
By the way, I did want to throw this out there. Because tomorrow's a special day for me, I'm probably going to be hanging around during Monday Night Football and maybe before then. And I'll take some NFL questions and some Lions questions from you guys too. Probably on my own Twitch channel, but we'll retweet it from the Pride of Detroit account.
Sure. Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
Just keep an eye out on that. And by the way, if you haven't joined our Discord, you'll get alerts for these for when our channels go live too. So make sure to. Jeremy just spammed it in the chat, the Discord link. Use that if you have Discord. We have voice chats up there. We play video games. We have text chats where people are talking about other sports, about the Lions, about general stuff. Video games, we play a lot of it, but like you want to be on our Discord because that gives us a chance when we're off stream from Twitch to still talk to you and still have good Lions conversations.
Let me answer a couple of quick questions here before we head out. The Blazer Show says, I personally don't think the owner matters as long as they open the checkbook, although it doesn't matter in leagues with caps. I mostly agree with that. I think we do have to admit, though, that the Bob Quinn hire was wrong, and Chris was right in that it was wrong. It was the wrong hire, but for the right reasons, they made it. But I think the one thing that maybe Martha and company didn't know at the time was when they hired Bob Quinn, they were essentially firing Jim Caldwell. Like, it was always in the plans. And I know it took a couple of years for Bob Quinn to finally pull the trigger there, but he was just waiting for an excuse. Let's be honest. He wanted to build his team in the Patriots image, and Jim Caldwell was not part of those plans.
Yeah.
And so
I don't want to say that she made the thing is, like, I mean, God, she brought in Ernie Accorsi.
Right.
Ernie Accorsi's a damn legend.
Sure.
Among general managers.
100%.
Like, he was the one heading up their search to find Bob Quinn, and they settled on Bob Quinn. Like, so I don't know what you wanted for her to do is just say, no, I know better than Ernie bleeping Accorsi. How do you think that would go over in Detroit?
Right. And she's kind of in a lose-lose situation there too, because like if you get an owner that's like really knowledgeable and like really involved, like then you run the risk of having a guy who's too handsy, right? Too hands-on. And
yeah, Jerry Jones situation.
Exactly. And so you don't want to do that either. Maybe you want someone who's a little bit more knowledgeable than a 90-some-year-old, but by all accounts, Martha Ford was a decent owner. She was someone who didn't necessarily play favorites. She went outside her comfort zone to hire a general manager, not just hiring a family friend or someone who'd been within the organization for years.
Not even keeping the pace, yeah, because that's what they had with
Martin Mayhew.
With Mayhew was basically, it's like, yeah, she could have just stuck with him. She could have realized, like, yeah, it's going bad, and we probably need to tell him you might need to move on from Caldwell, because Mayhew had survived several coaches, had survived Schwartz before. So, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know, man. And yeah, I don't want to speak too ill of the dead, but I do agree with Edjarm 19. Like, it's definitely a marked difference from some of the stuff that happened with William Clay Ford III. RIP and all, but like, I think there's enough anecdotal evidence of how William Clay was running this organization that for various reasons just did not make people comfortable with believing that he was a sound owner. A little too checked out, maybe a little too chummy, too much of a golf course guy. I don't know.
Space Kataz, and I appreciate any Aqua Teen reference, so love it.
Yes!
Because Patricia has been a Quinn guy, so very clear. Do you see there's any scenario where one survives and the other doesn't? No.
I could see I could see what happened with Caldwell in that they forced Patricia to, or like one way or the other was like one guy has to hold down the boat for the next guy in. I mean, training, that awful training. If anyone's had a job where you've had to train your replacement,
yeah,
kind of in that vein.
At one point, I was told, kind of by an inside source, that those two might not be as tied to the hip as you might think, and I want to kind of hold on to that belief, but I don't anymore. Like I think they're too much tied to the hip. I think we kind of mentioned it earlier. I think Bob Quinn is comfortable drafting players for Matt Patricia for the Patriots type system. He literally admitted that he wasn't as comfortable drafting players for Jim Caldwell. So to me, that tells me this is where he belongs, and if one goes, the other has to go. And I don't think there's any scenario in which the Lions tank the season and Matt Patricia survives. And so if he doesn't survive, I think you got to get rid of the guy that hired him, the guy that decided 9-7 wasn't good enough, the guy that decided he wanted to take this team to the next level by bringing in this Patriots culture to an even further step than he had already brought it. And we saw the result. That was his decision. You can say whatever you want about the drafts. It's been a mixed bag with the drafts. You can say whatever you want about the free agency. I think the free agency things under Bob Quinn have been bad, mostly. Draft, I would say so-so. I would say draft has been about average. But honestly, you throw all that out because his master plan was to bring all of this Patriots era to Detroit, bring in Matt Patricia, bring in this culture change of being hard asses, driving away good talent if they rock the boat even a little bit. And it didn't work.
Stiffing an all-time grade on some money and causing irreparable harm to this team, to this franchise's reputation that didn't need help being damaged already, to be honest.
Yeah. And I mentioned it either during the podcast or one of our earlier breaks. Okay, who's getting hired after Matt Patricia if Bob Quinn's the GM? If he likes Patriots guys, guess who? I mean, Steve Belichick, come on down.
I want to ask you this because I saw this. I can't remember if it was from my Twitter account or from somewhere on Discord or maybe in an earlier Twitch chat. But do you think Bob Quinn's issue was that? Oh, you're looking a little. Oh yeah, that was a nasty hit.
Someone told me Quandre Diggs just got tossed, and based on that hit, I completely understand it. He's not happy about it.
I think I saw that. I mean, I'm on stream, so I might be a little behind you.
That's interesting because we haven't seen someone. I don't remember the last time we saw someone get tossed for a head-to-head hit. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was the hit I saw earlier. Yeah, just God, his head rocked back there. Yeah. But anyway, the question I want to bring this to you, Jeremy, is that do you believe Bob Quinn could maybe be? Do you think the problem for Bob Quinn is that he set it up for Matt Patricia? And he didn't get, like, say, another Patriots guy, like, say, Mike Vrabel.
I'm not going to sit here and say the Patriots model doesn't work outside of New England. I know
Vrabel's had success in Tennessee.
Vrabel's had some decent success. The Dolphins, we'll see. It's possible, but I don't know. I think at this point it's worth giving up on in Detroit. Like, Maybe it's just Matt Patricia and all the 3 or 4 New England coaches that preceded him and it didn't work out. But I mean, what sort of faith are you inspiring in Detroit if you get rid of Matt Patricia and just bring in Matt Patricia 2.0? You just bring in another Patriots guy.
Yeah, I do have questions about going, like, everyone keeps saying Eric Bieniemy, and we've been having fun trying to say his name here, but I don't know if that's the right answer either. I don't know, man. I know this is a copycat league, and it just drives me insane sometimes because I'm not sure what the right answer is. I just don't.
I'm actually curious if the Lions hired Steve Belichick, if people would like that or hate it.
Oh, God. I would hate it. Can I just say,
Chad, give me ones if you would love it, two if you would hate it. I'm just curious.
Can I ask you if between, oh God, I forget his name. Between,
okay, we're getting a lot of twos. A lot of people would hate it. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you this, because I know I've brought this up to you before and you've dismissed this out of principle when we were talking about new head coaches. But if Matt Rule does a good turnaround job for the rebuild job for the Carolina Panthers, Cliff Kingsbury makes it work in Arizona, are you ready to entertain the idea of a college coach?
Sure. I'm never against that. I'm never against thinking about that.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of here's the thing, when you hire a head coach, you can go for a guy like Jim Caldwell who's been around a long time and you pretty much know what you're going to get. You're going to get an average coach that knows what he's doing. He'll walk into the building day one and know how to manage a team and know how to be a leader. A coach like that who's been around for 20, 30 years is the safe play. And the safe play will probably dig this team out of 3-13 seasons and get us back to 8-8, 7-9, 9-7, maybe even a 10-6 season or so. The question is, are you able to find a guy like that who can take them beyond that? And the answer is probably not. You don't see a lot that happening a lot in the league unless a team makes a crazy decision with one of their head coaches. Like Mike McCarthy, he's not going to change the Cowboys. He's not going to make the Cowboys a Super Bowl winning team. I don't care what the hell happened today with that crazy ass game in Atlanta. Mike McCarthy isn't going to be the answer for them to really start an era of fantastic football. You reach into the college ranks, it's risky. Sometimes it goes terribly. Sometimes you're left with a guy who's only going to last a year or two.
You might get a Jimmy Johnson or you might get a Steve Spurrier.
Right. You might get what's the Eagles guy? Went really fast-paced offense. What's that guy's name? Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
You might get a Chip Kelly. But yeah, you could certainly get a home run as well. So
yeah, I can never get over Jimmy Johnson.
Saban is not coming, Craig.
And forget about Jim Harbaugh either. I wouldn't even want Jim Harbaugh. You guys can stop.
We're gonna get Jim Harbaugh rumors. I can't wait.
No, I was gonna say there are two guys I would have my eye on who have both been in stable places. One's a name I can stomach. The other makes my blood turn a bit. And actually, I'll give you a third name too, and you can shriek at me if you want. So I've got good, the bad, and the ugly here. Where do you want me to start? Good, the bad, and the ugly.
So let's just go in order.
All right, the good, been there for almost 10 years now at Stanford, David Shaw.
Why is that name?
Disciple of Jim Harbaugh, kind of does what, the ground and pound, produced very good players at Stanford, stable. He was, as a player, I believe he was coached by Dennis Green and Bill Walsh. He's had some NFL experience before. He was an assistant up with the Eagles, the Raiders, and the Ravens. He kind of checks a lot of your boxes for you.
I can't believe you somehow finagled coaching talk into this. I can't believe we're talking about future head coaches right now.
Yeah, no, it's what chat wants to talk about.
I
though,
hate
man.
you, chat.
It's what they do. Okay, here comes the bad.
All of this is bad.
Brian Kelly.
Get out of here.
I think he's been wanting out of Notre Dame for a while. He almost went for that Eagles job. And I'm just saying, I told you this was the bad, man. I told you this was the bad. I'm going to blow you away when I say the ugly. You're going to walk away. I guarantee I am doing JoJo right now. Your next words are going to be fuck you, Chris. The ugly. Lane Kiffin.
Just drown. I just want to drown.
No, Lane Kiffin's been turning it around decently for himself.
That was much that was much wetter than I thought it was gonna be.
I was gonna say you look drenched. You're pixelating on my screen, but you look like you've. I
had an accident, guys.
I was gonna say I've got enough points. I should redeem some of these for the mozzarella shirt and just help save your dignity here.
That's what she said. I'm wet. Yep.
Yeah. I know Brian Kelly just signed an extension, but as with all these college coaches, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. But I don't see any reason why Brian Kelly would leave Notre Dame. And honestly, I wouldn't want him as a coach, but I know he's shown that interest to go to the NFL before. I think out of the best of those guys, I like David Shaw, and I irrationally have an inkling towards Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is eventually going to get another NFL job. I'm just saying.
At least I do have a cute dog. Thank you for saying. And if you're a subscriber to our channel, you can get the Zazu emote. This is Zazu. And if there are any subscribers still here in the chat, show them the Zazu emote that you get for free for subbing. Yay!
We don't have one for Ruby, but right now he's doing that thing that you wanted to do earlier where he's just laying on his side flat. Which is what you wanted to do after this game.
True. Face all up on the ground. Oh, look at you, puppy. There are other questions here that I forgot about.
Zazu for head coach.
Yeah? You want to be a head coach?
It's like Air Bud, except a little more...
Oh, he wants to be a head coach.
Air Bud 5.
There's no rules.
Do your job.
There's technically no rules in the NFL rule book that a dog can't be a head coach. So technically no rules against it. Would you go for it on 4th and 1? Give me a kiss if you go for a 4th and 1. He's hired. I got him. I need to change my shirt and start writing because this is just a waste of everybody's time.
I need to finish up this beer and then maybe turn it around with some caffeine or something. And I do need to write and do a lot of stuff. And I want to play some video games I haven't had a chance to unwind. After the game, I put my head down for an hour to take a nap. I think people need to realize, people should know, just as full disclosure, I work from 1 a.m. Sunday Eastern until about, when do I get off? 11 a.m. Eastern. All before I have to turn around and do all this Lions stuff. So and I still have to do more. So I'm not going to sleep. I am more jacked and wired. But I do want to get it done and clear my slate because tomorrow is my birthday and I'm going to spend it just completely unwinding. So,
yay! Happy birthday!
I don't feel happy about it at all, man.
I
don't feel happy about it at all.
Whatever. Everything's gonna be.
How about Jim Caldwell on coke?
Appreciate Space Katas saying the chat is healing my soul. This is why you got to be a part of the live podcast. Is so that we gotta
have more
together.
Funny stuff on the podcast itself, and I think as the season continues, there will be more game shows and stuff. We'll see how long the energy can keep going for the rage. But I'm happy to see that it is a healing motion for a lot of people.
For sure. All right, chat. I think it's time for us to go watch some Sunday Night Football.
Thank you guys for the well wishes. I'll be around more tomorrow, and again, might try to stream tomorrow. I just got that game Hades from Supergiant. I know people having fun with that. You're rating Super Squares, aren't you?
I am absolutely rating Super Squares right now. So if you guys want to continue to watch the Sunday Night Football game, my buddy John Blevins is running a game show right now while watching it and providing live analysis. So we're rating him. So even though we're done here, stay on Twitch, go over there, say hi, tell him I dumped water all over myself like a clown, and just enjoy the rest of your Sunday, guys. You don't have to think about the lines anymore. We're done. The pain is over.
In the words of the famous philosopher Brizgalov, it's only game.
It's only game.
Why you have to be mad?
There you go. All right, guys. We will see you Wednesday night to do some Cardinals preview. We might have some fun things in between then and now, but for now, thank you for joining us, everybody. Go join Super Squares. Have a good Sunday night. We'll see you soon.
Go Lions.
Go Lions.
We out?
Yeah.